Religion and authoritarianism often go hand in hand. Throughout history, we can clearly see the close connection between religion and authoritarian regimes. Both operate on similar principles, emphasizing obedience, promising social order, preserving purity, and granting absolute power to a higher authority. For dictatorships, that authority is the supreme leader. For religion, it is God or a spiritual figure. This parallel allows the two systems to reinforce and protect each other. Religion provides a moral foundation that legitimizes political power, while authoritarian rule gives religion status and influence in public life. The result is a closed loop. People are controlled not only by spiritual belief, but also by political force, leaving little room to escape or to question the system. Religion as a source of moral legitimacy for authoritarianism. Authoritarian regimes rarely survive on sheer force alone. They also need moral justification to appear righteous in the eyes of the public. Religion plays a crucial role in this process by framing political authority as sacred and unquestionable. When leaders are portrayed as chosen by God, carrying out divine will, or defending a holy cause, their rule is no longer just political, it becomes moral, even spiritual. This makes opposition seem not only dangerous, but also sinful. In this way, religion transforms authoritarian control into something that feels morally binding, discouraging resistance and silencing dissent. It provides the regime with a shield of sanctity, making power appear natural and inevitable, distortion of religious values. At their core, most religions teach compassion, humility, and kindness. Yet under authoritarian influence, these values are often distorted into tools of control. Humility becomes blind submission to authority. Compassion is limited only to those within the same belief system. Obedience is reframed as moral duty, and questioning is condemned as rebellion against the divine order. Instead of inspiring people to live more meaningful and empathetic lives, religion in this context is reshaped into a mechanism that justifies inequality, silences dissent, and demands loyalty at all costs. The very principles meant to uplift the human spirit are turned into chains that bind it. Authoritarian structures mirror religion. The similarities between religious institutions and authoritarian regimes are striking. Both are built on strict hierarchies, with unquestionable authority concentrated at the top, whether in the figure of a ruler or a religious leader. Both discourage independent thought, teaching followers that loyalty is more important than truth. Dissent is not merely disagreement. It is treated as betrayal or heresy. Rituals, ceremonies, and repeated narratives reinforce unity while suppressing critical voices. In this way, religion and authoritarianism mirror one another, creating parallel systems of control. Each relies on submission, repetition, and fear to maintain power, ensuring that individuals remain loyal not because they are free to choose, but because they are conditioned to obey. Global examples. The alliance between religion and authoritarianism is not confined to one culture or era. It is a recurring pattern across the world. In Russia, the Orthodox Church reinforces the government's nationalist agenda. In the United States, certain religious groups merge faith with political power to restrict rights and enforce conservative values. In Hungary and Poland, religion is used to legitimize nationalist policies and silence opposition. In India, Hindu nationalism blurs the line between faith and state, fueling division and intolerance. In Iran, clerical authority dominates every aspect of life under the guise of divine law. These examples reveal a consistent truth. Wherever religion and authoritarian power intertwine, personal freedom shrinks, and society becomes less tolerant of difference and dissent. Mutual benefits. The partnership between authoritarian leaders and religious institutions is a transaction. Authoritarians gain sacred legitimacy, presenting their rule as divinely sanctioned rather than politically imposed. Religion, in return, receives state protection, financial support, and greater influence over society. Pulpits become political platforms, and holy texts are reframed as tools of obedience. This exchange strengthens both sides. Rulers appear moral and unquestionable, while religious leaders secure relevance and power. But the cost is borne by ordinary citizens, who are taught to see obedience as virtue and dissent as sin. Psychological control. Authoritarianism and religion both shape how people think, not just how they act. When citizens are raised to believe that questioning authority is sinful and that obedience is noble, they internalize submission. This conditioning makes resistance feel wrong and compliance feel righteous. Suffering is reframed as part of a divine plan, turning pain into acceptance rather than rebellion. By merging spiritual discipline with political loyalty, authoritarians create a mindset where obedience is automatic, doubt is suppressed, and independent thought becomes a threat. Across the world, the partnership between religion and authoritarianism takes different forms but follows the same logic. In Russia, the Orthodox Church legitimizes Putin's wars and policies in exchange for influence and prestige. In Hungary, Viktor Orbán frames himself as the defender of Christian Europe, using religion to justify closing universities, silencing media, and weakening courts. In the United States, white evangelical Christians became one of Donald Trump's most loyal bases, not because of his faith, but because he empowered them politically. In India, Hindu nationalism has blurred the line between religion and state, while in Iran, clerics directly control government under a theocratic system. Though the religions differ, the strategy remains constant. Faith is transformed into a political weapon to legitimize power and suppress opposition. Sacred power. Authoritarian leaders understand the power of making their rule appear sacred. Once politics is framed as God's will, opposition is no longer seen as debate, but as blasphemy. By quoting scripture, attending religious rituals, or gaining the blessing of faith leaders, rulers wrap themselves in divine legitimacy. This strategy makes criticism dangerous, because questioning the leader becomes equivalent to questioning God. In such a system, obedience is portrayed as holy, dissent as sinful, and loyalty to the regime as a spiritual duty. Religion thus gives authoritarians something no army or police force can fully provide: moral justification for their power, morality, and control. In democratic societies, morality is often grounded in empathy, reasoning, and the consequences of human actions. But under authoritarian systems, religion is frequently used to outsource morality to authority. The message becomes simple: if God commands it, it must be right. This mindset removes the need for critical thought and replaces it with blind obedience. Authoritarian leaders exploit this dynamic by presenting themselves as the ultimate moral voice, not open to debate, but demanding loyalty. In this way, morality shifts from compassion and justice to conformity and obedience. Citizens no longer ask, "Is this good for people?" Instead, they ask, "Is this allowed by authority?" A shift that strengthens control and weakens freedom. Both religion and authoritarianism thrive on similar patterns of thought: loyalty over truth, certainty over doubt, and obedience over questioning. They divide the world into the righteous and the unrighteous, insiders and outsiders, chosen, and rejected. This black and white mindset discourages critical thinking and makes people more accepting of injustice as natural or even divinely ordained. When individuals are raised to believe that doubt is sinful and authority is sacred, they become conditioned to follow rather than challenge. This shared psychology creates a culture where submission is praised as virtue and resistance is condemned as betrayal. The bond between religion and authoritarianism is not accidental. It is structural, psychological, and historical. By sanctifying power, suppressing dissent, and redefining morality as obedience, religion often provides authoritarian leaders with the perfect tool of control. Yet, the solution is not to erase faith, but to separate it from politics. A healthy society requires citizens who question authority, value compassion over conformity, and place truth above tradition. True freedom demands a culture of inquiry, where morality comes from human empathy and reason, not imposed dogma. Only then can democracy remain strong against the forces that seek to control it through sacred power.